Osiris and Attis, the esoteric root of Dante Wright, George Floyd killings, and the Suez Canal rituals of 2021. The vernal equinox is prime time for high ritual. It harnesses the energy of the rebirth of the sun. It is a time of growth and renewal. It is a time when animals' procreative instinct is at its strongest. Some of the deepest spiritual rituals relate to the death and rebirth of the sun at autumnal equinox and spring equinox. The vernal equinox is also the ancient pagan sacrifice season. This is the reason that Rome and Babylon would have chosen to crucify a high-profile subject at this time. Sacrifice season is still observed today on an occulted level. The Suez Canal blockages, George Floyd murder trial, and Dante Wright shooting in Minneapolis are all based on the ritual harnessing of the power of the vernal equinox. The George Floyd death and murder trial are based on the equinoxes. While his death occurred in late spring, it was nonetheless a death of the sun at the autumnal equinox ritual. The zodiac sign of the autumnal equinox is Libra. George Floyd, born October 14, is Libra. The legends of Osiris and Attis. Osiris, statue of recycling Attis at Shrine of Attis. A central equinox myth upon which so many rituals are based is the Osiris myth, ancient Egypt. Osiris is a sun god. A central feature of Osiris is his green color. This is of central importance in recognizing Osiris-legend-based rituals. In legend Osiris, the sun is killed by his brother, Set. This is where the English language gets the term sunset from. Set dismembers Osiris' corpse, cutting it into 14 pieces, which he scatters. Osiris' sister and consort Isis retrieves and reassembles 13 pieces of Osiris' body, but is unable to retrieve his penis, which was consumed by a catfish or a crocodile in the Nile River, or the river Nile. Isis fashions an artificial phallus to complete Osiris' body. She revives Osiris long enough to be able to conceive Horus, who represents the resurrected sun at the spring equinox. Another similar spring equinox legend is the Greco-Roman Attis, who, like Osiris, represents the resurrected sun at the vernal equinox, is a god of vegetation and greenery. Attis is symbolized by the pine tree and pine cone. Like Osiris, is associated with mutilation. Attis severed his genitals in myth, but the priests of the cult of Sibyl, his consort, actually literally self-castrated underneath pine trees. According to Ovid's Metamorphosis, Attis transformed himself into a pine tree. Wikipedia. Osiris is also related to a tree. Prior to dismembering Osiris' corpse, Set the coffin it was in adrift on the Nile River, where it eventually washed ashore, and a tree grew around it. Isis would eventually extract the coffin. Kneeling / taking the knee, Freemasons' adaptation of the Osiris legend. Illustration of Master Masons performing the martyrdom of Hiram Abiff ritual, the source of the kneeling protest. The genuflecting, erroneously referred to as kneeling by the George Floyd murder protesters, is from the Freemason ritual of the martyrdom of Hiram Abiff, which is based on the Osiris legend and involves genuflecting over the body of Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff is resurrected in a separate ritual. Hiram Abiff is a play on high ram above, which refers to the ram of Aries, the zodiac sign of the spring equinox. George Floyd represents Hiram Abiff and Osiris in ritual. The Suez Canal blockages by vessels in March of 2021, the George Floyd killing and murder trial, and the killing of Dante Wright are all based on ancient spring equinox mythology of Egypt, Osiris, and Greece, Rome, Attis. The Ever Given, the obelisk / penis of Osiris. The Ever Given cargo ship that got stuck in the Suez Canal from March 23, 2021 to March 29, 2021 represented the severed penis of Osiris. The location of Egypt is most conspicuous, but the following confirms the ritual as reported by mainstream media source Vice. Vice World News. A cargo ship drew a giant dick pic in the ocean, then got stuck in the Suez Canal. Immediately before getting stuck in the Suez Canal, the Ever Given charted a path in the Red Sea that was distinctly shaped like a penis and scrotum. This is confirmed by the vessel tracking website, vesselfinder.com. The Ever Given also appears like an obelisk, the phallus fashioned by Isis, in official diagrams. The diagram below even has this ship / obelisk as green in color. The massive container ship, which has been blocking the Suez Canal for almost a week, started to move on Monday, according to maritime traffic tracking site. Rising hopes to the vital global trade route could soon be clear. Image credit Twitter. Evergreen is also a reference to the Greco-Roman Attis, who transformed himself into a pine tree. A pine tree is an evergreen tree. The ancient Roman festival of Hilaria was celebrated every March 22nd to March 25th, the time that the Ever Given got stuck. Hilaria celebrates Attis and primarily his consort, Sybil or Cybele. The trial of the police officers who killed George Floyd began March 29th, the same day that the Ever Given was freed. 9/29. As reported in my previous post, barely over a week after the Ever Given was freed, the Minerva Nike oil tanker very briefly got stuck in the Suez Canal. Minerva Nike sums to 929. Minerva Nike equals 929 in Jewish. 929, 9 minutes and 29 seconds, is the new official time given for the duration of George Floyd's killing. The Pharaoh's Golden Parade. In between the Ever Given being freed and the start of the Derek Chauvin trial and the Minerva Nike having trouble in the Suez Canal, the country of Egypt paraded the coffins of 22 pharaohs through the streets of the capital, Cairo, in what was a sort of resurrection ritual at the spring equinox called the Pharaoh's Garden Parade. The carriages carrying 22 ancient Egyptian royal mummies depart from the Egyptian Museum in Cairo's Tahrir Square during the parade. Khaled Desolki, AFP Getty Images. Keep in mind that George Floyd was buried in a golden casket, pictured below. The George Floyd Kimberly Brink's porn film, Isis and the Obelisk. Another element of George Floyd as Osiris in Ritual is his appearance in a pornographic film, essentially Osiris, a scene from George Floyd's porn film. The name of his female co-star in the porn film is Kimberly Brinks. From the perspective of April 14th, 2021, her name has extra significance since Kimberly is also the name of the police officer reported to have shot Dante Wright in the Minneapolis suburbs as the George Floyd murder trial is ongoing. The officer's name is Kimberly Potter. The porn star Kimberly Brinks is Isis in Ritual to Floyd's Osiris. Remember that Isis fashions a phallus which she attaches to Osiris's body to conceive Horus. The obelisk represents that phallus. Brinks is a supermatch across 3 out of 4 base ciphers with obelisk. Brinks and obelisk both equal 73 in English ordinal, 28 in full reduction, and 44 in reverse reduction. Brinks also has double overlap with Osiris at 73 and 89. Brinks equals 73 in English ordinal and 89 in reverse ordinal. Osiris equals 73 in reverse ordinal and 89 in English ordinal. Other parallels between Minneapolis and Egypt. The Mississippi River at a metaphoric Nile. I'm sorry, I'm going to do that. The Mississippi River, a metaphorical Nile. The Mississippi River, which runs through Minneapolis, is a metaphorical Nile River. This is evidenced by naming of towns on the Mississippi after Egypt, like Memphis, Tennessee, named after Memphis, a former capital of ancient Egypt, and Cairo, Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee even features a Great Pyramid on the banks of the Mississippi. The Memphis, Tennessee Pyramid on the shores of the Mississippi. Imitating the river Nile's south to north flow. An act of God actually helped establish the Mississippi. Equals Nile. Metaphor. The Nile River is unique in that it flows from south to north. In the opposite directly almost all great rivers. On February 7, 1812, the most violent of a series of earthquakes near Missouri caused a so-called fluvial tsunami in the Mississippi River, actually making the river run backward for several hours, imitating the directional flow of the River Nile. Twin Cities. Minneapolis and St. Paul are the world's most famous and celebrated twin cities, but at north entry to the Suez Canal also features twin cities Port Said to the west of the canal, Port Fouad to the east. Port Fouad's most salient building is a mosque with giant twin minarets, the twin pillars of the Mosque of Port Fouad. Great Lakes. Minnesota is associated with a great lake, Lake Superior. The Suez Canal runs through the Great Lake known as Great Bitter Lake. The Heart. In a previous article, I compared the Sinai Peninsula, to which the Suez Canal runs adjacent, to a heart, as it is shaped like a human heart, and Sinai and heart have a triple overlap in gematria. A heart metaphor was an important element of the Ever Given ritual that blocked the C artery of the canal. George Floyd was officially said to have been diagnosed with a heart condition, arteriosclerotic heart disease and hypertensive heart disease. Daunte Wright. Daunte Wright was reportedly killed by police in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center on April 11th as the Floyd murder trial was ongoing in Minneapolis. It is reported that he was charged by police for having air freshener dangling from his car's rear view mirror, the most popular form of car air fresheners. I am not aware of the specific kind that Wright is said to have been using, but the most popular car air freshener is Little Tree's pine-shaped air freshener. This is another crucial part of the Osiris Attis vernal equinox ritual. Again, the Roman festival of Hilaria celebrated Attis, who severed his own genitals according to legend and transformed himself into a pine tree. Galli, who are the priests of the cult of Cybele or Cybele Attis, self-castrated underneath a pine tree. Evergreen, emblazoned on the side of the Ever Given ship in the Suez Canal spring equinox ritual, which occurred during Hilaria, is a reference to the pine tree of Attis / Cybele. To add another layer to the evergreen tree of Attis / Cybele element of the ritual, it was highlighted that the most prominent store to be looted and destroyed in the wake of the Daunte Wright killing was Dollar Tree. News: Dollar Tree looted, vandalized in viral video as unrest mounts in Brooklyn Center by Samantha Locke on 4/13/21 at 7:28 a.m. EDT. A Dollar Tree store that was looted at Brooklyn Center, Minnesota at Reuters / Nick Pelosi or Plafossi. The Attis / Cybele temple at the Vatican. The cult of Cybele / Attis is still adhered to today on an occulted level at the Vatican. In fact, St. Peter's Basilica is the location of the last known temple of the Cybele / Cybele Attis. How do we know that the Vatican still venerates these gods? By understanding the symbolism. One of the most famous sculptures at the Vatican is the pine cone Fontana della Pigna, or Pina, pictured below, the pine being the most salient symbol of Attis. Julius Salmon, inventor of the Little Tree car air freshener. The Little Tree car air freshener was created by German-Canadian chemist Julius Salmon, who was born on April 15th. The Daunte Wright killing, which includes Julius Salmon's product as a key part of the narrative, and fallout are occurring during Salmon's birthday. Julius Salmon equals 1321 in Jewish. The name Julius Salmon sums to 1321 in the Latin / Jewish cipher. 1321 is the 216th prime number. Properties below. Kimberly Potter yelled, "Taser, taser, taser," before firing at Daunte Wright. Taser, taser, taser sums to 216. Taser, taser, taser equals 216 in reverse ordinal. Minneapolis St. Paul also sums to 216. Minneapolis St. Paul equals 216 in English ordinal.